We are here with Dave Gibbons, the artist for The Watchmen, and we're here to talk about your new upcoming Artifact edition coming out from IDW. Thank you for meeting with us.
Oh, you're very welcome. Nice to meet you.
So, tell us a little bit about this Artifact edition, because we've heard of artist editions before. How is the Artifact edition a little bit different?
Well, there isn't a huge amount of difference other than a lot of the Watchmen material has been scattered to the four corners of the world, so we have no complete chapters, whereas in the other artist editions there would be complete issues of a comic book. But what we've got to make up for that is we've got sketches, we've got some full colour paintings which were done for the French edition, we've got some colour guides, we've got some blue line prints, so they're really not just pages, they're artifacts.
So is this something that was from your collection, or are these things that people have sent in for this? How did this come together?
Well, I sold every single page of Watchmen as I drew it years ago, a quarter of a century ago, and I thought I was getting a really good deal at the time, but it's probably one of the worst deals I ever got. And so people who have original Watchmen artwork tend to hold on to it very closely. But fortunately, because IDW have established their reputation as doing really, really desirable books, people have been quite happy to scan their pages or lend them the pages to scan. In my personal collection, I've got a lot of sketches left. I've got a couple of paintings, so I obviously scanned whatever I could do. But it's really, for me as well, I've not seen a lot of this work in 25 years, so it's a great thrill.
I'd say, what was it like looking through and seeing, the cool thing about the artist editions is you see all the notes, all the blue lines, all the erasings. What was it like to finally look at these pages again for, 25 years later?
Well, it was interesting because I'm a pretty fastidious artist, and by the time I get to do the ink line, I rarely make a mistake. But it was interesting to see the places where I had screwed something up and I had to go back in. There were some issues where we were moving backwards and forwards in time, so there would be some paste up where I took a Xerox of an earlier panel and then pasted it in later. So it's really interesting to see that, the different paper quality. The odd place where I had made a bad mistake, places where I'd re-lettered it. So yeah, I actually got into comics by doing lettering on other people's artwork. And I found that to look at original artwork was tremendously educational. And what I love about the whole Artist Edition series is you can look at the work of master artists and really learn from it. You can see, for instance, where they used a pen, where they used a brush, where they whited out, where they pasted something on. So to me, they're wonderful kind of educational tools. And it was a bit of an education to revisit my old stuff, yeah.
Well, I read somewhere that you're actually, a fan of the artist editions as they are. And it's amazing the lineup of talent that's been put together. So there's been Jack Kirby, there's been Mike Mignola, there's
Joe Kubert.
Joe Kubert.
Yeah.
Who do you think would be someone that would be, educational to look at, or that would be deserving of this kind of care and curation looked at?
Well, the first artist that comes to mind is Alex Toth, because Alex Toth is the artist. His dictum was simplify everything you can to the simplest possible expression and then draw the hell out of it. And he's somebody whose work I would love to see. But really, once you've seen an artist edition, every artist that you've ever loved, you think, oh, I'd love to see a Neil Adams Batman edition, or I'd love to see a Steve Ditko Spider-Man, because these things have become so iconic. And to actually see the original, you think, that is it. That's the thing the guy sat down at a drawing board with one afternoon in the middle of February and drew. There's something magical about it.
Yeah, for me, it's a Hal Foster, Prince Valiant.
Oh, well, that stuff is amazing. But of course, it's huge artwork. And that's what's wonderful with these artist editions, that they're printed at original size. And of course, as you know, up until the mid-60s, everything was drawn twice as large. So this is big artwork, And indeed, when I was doing Martha Washington, which is a series I did with Frank Miller, I drew that twice up.
Really?
So if we had a collection of that, it would be a book that was almost impossible to open. If it wouldn't be a coffee table book, it would be a coffee table,
Exactly. Now, you've been doing a lot of digital work lately, motion comics, things like that. Do you find, you said you're a very fastidious artist, do you find that you approach it faster, since it's a lot easier to just sort of delete or take off a layer, or are you still, putting all of the prep work into it that you did with something, say, like The Watchmen or Martha Washington?
Well, it's very interesting actually. You think that being digital it would save you time. I find on balance it probably doesn't. One of the problems is that you can zoom in infinitely and make corrections, and you find yourself adjusting a highlight on an eye of a background figure that's only going to be a quarter of an inch high in the published thing. So I've evolved different work methods. What I love to do is do my layouts digitally, because there's great freedom. You can resize, you can reorientate, and then what I tend to do is to print a pretty tight layout out and then draw over the top of that, and I find that's got the best of both worlds. It's got the flexibility of the computer, and it's really handy for importing reference or constructing perspective, but then you still end up with a drawn original, which is, and wonderful though today's drawing instruments are digitally, there's something about a pen nib scratching across a piece of paper that you just can't quite duplicate.
Oh, I agree entirely. Yeah. So, what can we look forward to from you in the near future?
Well, I just recently finished a series with Mark Miller called The Secret Service, which is coming out as a movie, so I'm going to be spending some time promoting that, I expect. I've also got a series called Treatment, which is being published by Madefire. And that I will probably expand into other media as well, so I'm working quite hard on that. I'm also just gearing up to actually write my autobiography, because I've sort of reached an age now where I think the world needs my autobiography. And I've been lucky enough to work with some wonderful people, with the Frank Millers and the Alan Moores and the Mike Mignolas of this world. And I've got some stories to tell, and I think I can probably tell the truth now.
You're solidified enough in the industry.
I think, yeah, I mean, I haven't got any earth-shattering revelations to make, but it's funny, being inside the industry is different than you think it is when you see it from outside. So I'm looking forward to doing that. I've got some stories to tell, and I've got some artwork that hasn't been widely seen. You know, I'm not just going to fill my autobiography up with Watchmen stuff. Right. It's going to be stuff that I've done in England that maybe a lot of people haven't seen, that even I haven't seen for years, you know. So.
Well, yeah, you were one of the original artists on the Doctor Who Weekly, is that correct?
Yeah, it's true. I did Doctor Who, and before that I worked for 2000 AD, and before that I worked for some really obscure comics, and you know, I'm not ashamed to show my really early stuff. I think it's quite instructive and probably quite encouraging to people who are trying to break into the field. So I'm looking forward to doing that, and I've actually discovered, although I've spent a lot of my career drawing, that I do love to write. I mean, I've written a few comic books, so I'm looking forward to doing more writing now, perhaps, than drawing.
All right, well, thank you very much for meeting with us. All the best to you, and we look forward to thumbing through our Watchmen edition.
Thanks very much indeed. Thank you.